Hello! Hi guys!
Hello!
Welcome back to Rutin Podcast. I'm your host, Quya.
And I'm Amira.
As promised, this week we are bringing you part 2 of our career path episode where we answer more questions related to our career journeys. Hope you guys like it.
People who follow us on social media, they said that they fresh grads, they just start working, so they don't know how to say no. For example, they're already at their maximum capacity, and then their superiors or bosses keep giving them more and more workload, so they don't know that they can even speak up for themselves and then set boundaries. How would you advise them to handle this in a professional setting that's not emotional?
How to say no?
How to say no? we are still struggling, by the way.
How to say no? I think maybe for somebody who's first started, don't say no to a lot of things first.
That's what I said. Oh my gosh, that was exactly what I said in one of my lives. Like when you first start, you have to say yes first.
I definitely like what I'm about to say. I feel like it's definitely not me encouraging you to say no. That's definitely not where I'm coming from. I think if you are first starting out, there's going to be a lot of opportunities that you will have the time to do because you're not really doing anything too intense, right? So say yes to a lot rather than say no. But there will be occasions when you have to say no. So this like being overladen with work or like one thing that they have a lot on their plate, doesn't that sound familiar? Like everybody goes through it. And you pointed out, this guy pointed out, right, like one of the big reasons is because we don't know how to say no, and we just take it on. How I have dealt with it in the past, or I didn't do this early on, mind you, I was also still a dumb fuck. I think actually having an open conversation, usually this will have to be no to your managers, right? Or sometimes you have to say no to your peers if you're working in a group.
Correct.
But if everybody is open about the amount of work that everybody has to do, that becomes an easier conversation. I'll give you one example that I took from a career. A very specific one is WIPs, weekly WIPs.
Okay, yeah. Work in progress.
I was so surprised that when I joined some of my companies, I'm not going to name names actually, these like teams do not have weekly WIPs. So nobody knows who is doing what. Nobody knows like where the project is going. And it's just like all over the place.
Right.
So let me just reel this in on why I think the weekly WIPs is a good way to say no.
Okay.
It's because you have a frequent check-ins with your bosses or your teammates. So this is when you realign what are your team goals or the company goals and then figure out what everybody is doing. When you have all that clear, it's easier for them to say no and then to clarify why that's a no.
Right.
Whether it be not in line with what the team is going, whether it's because you already have too much, whether it's because it's not part of your job scope. The reason why people cannot have this conversation is because they don't actually know what they're doing. They're not proud of their work, so they're not like putting it into perspective like what I am adding value to this team. So when my boss tells me you need to do this, I'm like, okay, how does that add to the team goal? And what I'm doing now, is it adding? If not, then can you help me? Please help me prioritize. Please help. Let's do it together. People think weekly WIP is a waste of time, but it is the best time for you to showcase and highlight the work that you have been doing.
I have a question. If for people who don't understand, I've never done this weekly WIP, do you have we will insert like a template or something?
Template? Got?
Yeah. So I'm sure you have a template, but...
I would also just like to add, like, it doesn't have to be like a company-run, team-run WIP. It could be for you, your own like Excel sheet where you put in like big projects. And so the double whammy about having this just running list of what you do is when it comes to the KPI season, then sometimes you have trouble like thinking like what you want to put because it's been a year since you've done this. But you have a weekly running like sheet of all the projects you do, it becomes so much easier. And when I was doing corporate, like KPI season was my shit. I was a top A student because I knew how to like answer the questions because I already had a cheat sheet of everything that I done.
Right.
So I definitely will still do, even now that I'm freelancing, I still keep
Right.
in me, because at any point in
This is
time,
useful.
my client or my employer is asking me, "What are you doing? Can I give this to you?"
Yeah. And I joined Shopee because it was like, I don't know, I was in project management. I was basically managing everything. My boss, what he would ask me to do, especially during COVID, was like every day we'll have a call with him at 10 a.m. Every day we would present our to-do list, which is our WIP. We have our date, task, deadlines, and then we would categorize it. So say, for example, by priority, like prioritize it, right? So I have 10 tasks that I have to do, and then I will categorize it. He told me to categorize P1 to P10, and then he wants to add another 10. So now you want me to do 20 things. I only have 24 hours in a day, and I can work 16 hours max. I need to sleep. So out of this 20 tasks, which is the P1 to P5 that I can finish by the end of this week, and then the rest I will put it on the back burner for now. And then he sat down with me. He said, okay, so P1 to P5, you give me by this week. Then it's fine. That I feel was the very important message on how to say no, but without making it be like, I don't want to do it. I'm so stressed. Instead of just saying it like that, you just say, I'm at my maximum capacity because I'm doing these 10 things. Based on my P1 to P10, I can do another 10, but recategorize and prioritize. And you work with it. You basically delegate it back upwards to him, to your boss, right?
Give you the priority. I love that.
Yeah.
So you want me to do all these things, but you let me know, because I'm only human.
Yeah.
The other one I want to jump off of that is asking for deadlines.
Yeah.
Ask your boss, when do you need this by?
Yes.
Bosses and I as a manager also sometimes fall.
Same.
It's like, I just want this. Okay? Just get it done.
Yeah.
But then when I ask, okay, can do. When do you need to buy?
Yeah.
So then people are just like not taking your time for granted, as if I have all of this time to be doing this stuff for you.
Yeah.
But let's work together.
Yeah.
So it's not like a hard no.
Yeah. Prioritization. Yeah.
Prioritization, and you're not doing the prioritization. You're kind of like bringing it back to your boss into the conversation.
Because sometimes bosses we were managers, right? So we also forget like what our teammates are. Like we just keep on aside. Sometimes I have this habit of like, if I like rely on this person, I know he's super reliable, I'll just give more to him because I know he'll get it done. And then he's like, Quya, you can, I can do it, but like I have like all these other things that you assigned to me yesterday, and I'm like, oh yeah, forgot about that.
So weekly WIP or like just catching up, right? To like make sure everybody's on the same page.
For sure.
And I also, the thing about weekly WIP is sometimes I find that we work on things that actually don't matter. So to avoid that, that's why catching up and like making sure everybody's in touch with what the other person is doing.
And before you do it, like usually for me, what I learned when I was in Shopee, because I was just too afraid of my boss sometimes because he's so busy. So I would do like a skeleton. Based on our discussion, like he will say, okay, this is what I want from you, blah, blah, blah. I'll draw out the skeleton. I'll be like, okay, I'll present it something like this format, but obviously I'll expand it. And then he'll take a glance at it and he'll say, okay or no. That way I know I'm in the right direction, right? To save time.
Great suggestion.
How important is your manager/mentor, especially, when you first started working?
My first manager, I think, is really, really important because he kind of sets the tone for me on how I should behave at work.
Oh, this was in Astro.
This was my Astro. I worked different types, but when I say like my first I guess corporate boss, one of the lessons that I learned from him, when your team member is on leave, that person is on leave. It doesn't matter what you have to do, that person is on leave. And I learned that from him. So when I was on leave, he respected me. When he was on leave, I respected him. So not every work that I do, whether it's somebody I'm managing or my bosses, I have that same role. Your first manager sets, because you're fresh, never experienced working before. So you are like, you're like
a sponge.
You're like a toddler. You're just like learning everything. And I think the first manager sets an example, and hopefully you have a good one, or even if it's a good one and a bad one. I think even bad managers
learn
you a good lesson.
For sure.
Of how you do not want to be. Not just your first manager, but in general, managers or mentors that you have within your industry, your career, or work life. It's a great place for open and honest feedback on the professional work that I
Right.
do.
Okay.
And most of the time, obviously, with the managers, they are a lot more experienced.
Yeah.
If you want to climb up the corporate ladder, being good in good terms with your manager and also making sure that person it's likable in the company,
Yeah.
that will sort you out. Like really, like your life will become so much easier for promotions, for like
Correct.
salary increases, because
Yeah.
like it's your manager who will fight for you.
Yeah, I agree.
I have been fortunate. I think in my first job, I had a really, really good one, and I saw the benefits of it. It's good for me lah, because
Yeah.
when I am managing a team as well, like the characteristic that I definitely want to be.
My first mentor was SC, so she was very nice. Basically, it depends on luck as well, because whether or not you hit it off with your manager, again, it's luck. It's your personality, what your interests. Sometimes, you like running, she likes running. Okay, you have something in common, but sometimes you just don't. I was a people pleaser, so I will bend myself to fit into whatever the manager wants me to be. So far, because of that, I always get along with all my managers, and I was always the goody two shoe that they always kind of value, because I gave up a lot of myself to fit into that mold, which I am not advised. Like looking back, I feel sometimes I gave a bit too much, because I didn't know who I was. Like when I was younger, I didn't know what kind of person I want to be, or like the kind of characters that I like or I don't like. So whatever is good according to my manager, I will be that. There are some pros to it. Like again, my promotion was a lot easier, bonus and increment, career discussion, progression was a lot easier, but at an expense of me kind of losing myself. So if I were to advise people on like establishing that relationship with their mentor, which I think is critical, because like Amira mentioned, it does ease up a lot of things like promotion, like, your work quality will improve because they like you. They will spend some time to guide you. Ultimately, right, people are human. So people have favorites. That's normal. So it's good to be somebody's favorite who will fight for you in the promotion.
What would you do differently?
Basically, if I see that my manager likes certain things, I will try to accommodate, because I wouldn't want to just piss them off for no reason. I'll do like professional things that they value. Okay. But like personal things in terms of like hobbies and all those things, I wouldn't, if I don't enjoy it, I would not do it just for the sake of building or strengthening the relationship with my boss. I picked up running in SC because my bosses love to run, and I felt like I need to run because, I need to show her that like, I can run too. Just stupid. I was young, I was foolish.
If you didn't do that, would that have been a detriment to your career?
No, it wouldn't, because she's quite objective as well. But I just felt like I had to be like, I knew I was already in her good books, but I just wanted to be more. Yeah, I need to be like her. And then when I moved to PwC, I was a bit more sure of who I was. Again, like I was wanting to prove myself. There was no direct mentor per se. My director, he was quite harsh on me. He was the one who was giving me a hard time about English, and then he was very different. So he was very organized and structured, and he likes to impose a lot of it on me. And I'm just not a structured person when I work. I have a different style. I was beating myself up because I wasn't like structured. So I was like trying to be structured. Like I would push myself out to be structured, which is good because I did learn a lot of things. And then when he left, I got another director who was exactly like me. He's even more, he's not organized. He's like very like a free spirit, and we get along really well, and he gets things done too, but in his own way. So that made me realize that you just have to kind of find your style of working. It's okay. Like me and my first boss, the American guy, although we didn't get along, I gave him the output that he wanted. Although our working styles were completely different. Like I wasn't as super nice and as like, a pushover. In SC, I was 100%, I was a pushover. But in PwC, got better. For example, my desktop is very messy. Amira would not like this. It's like very messy. My boss is like, my boss actually opened my laptop. He was like, oh my God. I said, yeah, this is how I work. Don't question me. And then he said, I'm not saying anything. So like, I think as you get older, you'll be more comfortable with your working style and the fact that there's no right or wrong way. Obviously, the more structured approach, people, from my experience, people look at those kind of people highly.
Running off from what you said, people find structured and organized people highly, which is true. I do agree people like you that, and I'm that. I think it's because a work that is organized and structured is easy to be understood by somebody else. So if you have to pass the project, whatever, But I don't think they are reacting to like how structured it is. They are reacting like, oh, okay, I understand this. So
How
for
to, okay.
somebody, that's why I'm saying like, it's not that you have to be organized and structured. Say you know are a bit more, you like to explore creatively when you're doing your work, so it's a bit more like a mind map.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to understand as a third person. But if you are able to still convey that, again,
Yeah.
for me, at the end of the day, if people get the message, regardless of how you deliver it,
Yeah.
then it's still good. So I think, yeah, if you are somebody who is not organized or not structured and templated and all that, but at the end of the day, if you know your
deliver.
boss is able, the output is still there and it's easy to understand and people can like execute it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, bro.
Yeah,
like how you
yeah.
get there. It's how you get there.
Yeah, that's what I realized in Shopee. Like I told my boss, like I can do it his way or I can do it my way, but the outcome is the same.
What you did also comes from years of experience.
Yeah, for
of
sure.
You
Yeah.
knowing what works for you, and then you being able to stand by it and say that, don't worry, I'll get it done. I'm just not going to go
Your way.
do it your way.
Yeah.
However, for somebody who first starts,
Yeah.
that probably will not be an option.
Yeah.
For them.
Correct.
In that case,
You
I
have
mean,
to
I have not always been organized and structured. I learned it
Okay.
as well. So
Okay.
give it a try. Maybe like you'll end up liking it, because that's what happened to me.
Moving on to this is a bit more admin. Like, do you know how do you calculate to do your taxes and your EPF? And say for example, your starting salary. My starting salary was 3,200. I thought I was going to get 3,200 banked into my bank account. And then when my first salary was banked into my bank account, I was like, 2.8? Why 2.8? Then I realized basically there's a gross pay and then your net pay. And then basically how I figured out what's the EPF, the SOXO, all of that, I just use this template, which I will link. It's a PCB calculator that I will link in the YouTube video, where you can put in your monthly salary and they will automatically calculate your net pay. So if your first starting pay is 3,500, I believe now that's the range for fresh grads, you will probably get about 3,000, about 20%. 3,000 ringgit net credited into your bank account. And then in terms of LHDN, filing, taxes, how do you learn that?
Okay, let's go your first question in terms of EPF, SOXO, and all that. I did know, and I think it's just when I first started, but I think it's a function because I have been working part-time whatever since I was 17, 18. So I've seen it before. I knew EPF is going to take my money. I knew that I had to pay tax and all that good stuff. So it wasn't a surprise. However, just on that note, that one of the important things that I think I would suggest is that your payslip, look at it. Look at your payslip and understand what that money represents. So 3,200 was money in, and then it minus what? What is that? What is that minus for? What is that? Don't be scared of the payslip. You have to look at it and keep it every month. You start seeing every month what are the differences, and then maybe you get commission or, So don't look at your payslip as just another paper. Understand what goes into the payslip. And I think that would help you then, understand how many percentage of SOXO how much are you putting in your EPF, how much your company is putting into your EPF. So the first step, if you don't know what the hell we're talking about right now, that payslip that you get every month, look at it.
Another one, EPF. How did you get your EPF number and your nombor cukai pendapatan? Do you remember? Because my little brother was asking me. I forgot. He was asking me about how do you get, because he was basically offered a job, and then they asked him provide EPF number, account number, right? And then
he probably doesn't have any.
He was working in Starbucks part-time. So what he did was he forgot that he had EPF. So he went to KWSP punya kiosk. You type in your IC number. They will let you know whether you have a KWSP number or not. And then you have that. So he realized that when he went to a kiosk, he realized that he had an EPF number from Starbucks. Then he used that amount. And now also you can check your EPF amount in your EPF account through the EPF website or an app.
Yeah.
Right?
I do all my tax, EPF, everything online. So when you say go to the kiosk, I'm
he was kiosks? There's plenty of kiosks. People still go to kiosks, post laju kiosks.
I think it's still necessary. But everything can be done online. The tax one was funny in terms of how to file it. I did pay tax for a few years, I think, because of my bracket.
Oh, but the first year je kan? I thought you above 2K you have to pay. No.
No, I think it's
Oh.
above 3K.
Oh.
My starting salary was 2,500 and I was on that salary.
Sis.
I know, girl. For the
Okay,
first couple of years, I was on that salary, so I never paid. I never had to pay tax. But then the first year that I had to pay tax, the person who helped me, and I'm still really good friends with her, is our office secretary. You know, we were friends at that point, and she knew that I was first timer. It's sort of like an extra skill that you have to learn. It's like imagine if you're in school, right, and you have like math class, English class. I think you should have text class to understand.
Yeah.
And tax doesn't have to be scary. It's not scary at all. Actually, all this exemption is for you to get more money back.
Correct.
It's not that you have to pay more money. Some people actually think knowing all this thing means that you have to pay more tax.
No. Sometimes you get it back. Yeah.
You get more money back. Right? It's for you.
What happened to me? I was audited by LHDN because I didn't pay. You
didn't pay?
I didn't know that. So I was under your impression, right? I thought my gaji 3.2 tak lepas because my net was 2.8. So I thought I didn't have to pay. So my first year, I know apparently when you first started working, your first year you don't have to pay. That was what my friends told me. So I thought, okay lah, first year I didn't pay. Second year, all my friends were doing it. And then I was just like, alah, is that thing like finance? So I was scared, right? I was like, like must do it ke? Like, no lah, don't lah. So I know the deadline is April. Usually you can start filing February, then April, I think the deadline, 30th April. Third year of working, I got this letter from LHDN. It was, you have to go to LHDN within 14 days when you get this letter and sort this out. If not, tindakan mahkamah akan diambil bullshit. And like because you didn't declare, you have to pay this penalty, which is like 6,000 or something. And I literally cried. I didn't tell my dad. So what I did was the next day I went to the LHDN office dekat Publica. And then the guy at the counter taught me everything on that day itself. He was like, okay, you need to print Borang BE, which is everything is on the LHDN website. Create like an e-daftar, like your e-online account. And then he looked at my payslip, and then he looked at my salary. And what was the first 2 to 3 years, I was supposed to get money back because I overpaid. It's just that I didn't declare it, right? So then I learned through him. And then years after that, I started filing it because of what he taught me.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. I was just scared. I was like, and apparently now the LHDN, they're auditing your filing from 7 years ago. Do you still have the receipts for 7 years ago?
Yeah. So also one of the advice. So aside from that, when I was working in Astro, every year they invite LHDN to our company to just do a talk and talk about this year's tax filing and all that. And it's not a mandatory course, but you can go and just listen. So that's why actually the LSDN guys are actually very helpful. And you can, so they come every year. So I could ask everything lah. Does sports shoes goes into this? What about if I go scuba diving? All those kind of questions.
But you keep your receipts for 7 years.
I do. So I have a phone.
I don't even have service.
Because they say up to 10 years.
I was just like, good luck lah kalau they audit me.
Okay, that I have been using for I think about 5 years already, 5 to 6 years. I have an app. It's called Cam Scanner. So every time I buy something that could be what do you call it?
Rebate.
Rebate, yeah. I'll take a picture of the receipt straight away. I always have a soft copy on my phone. So then, and I will do it as I go along. It's not that like, it's tax season now, I'm trying to find all my books.
Yeah, that's what I do.
But it's a habit, right? So every time now I think, there are different rebates that you can get. Not rebates. What do you call that? It's not rebates.
It's not rebates, right? It's like the system
deduction. Deduction. So get to know what your deductions are. And then it becomes like a habit for me. So now when I shop, right, I'm seeing like deduction, non-deduction.
Oh, wow.
It's just a thing with me now. And the best is when you have big ticket deduction because then your life is easier.
Yeah.
You buy a laptop, 1,000%. Yeah. Keep your invoice.
For sure, yeah.
So you start building those habits, I would say. And it really for me started with having an online place where I can put all the receipts. So you ask me like what I did in 2016, yeah, sure, I can look up like the receipts for 2016. Okay. Because I have it in like a cloud.
Oh wow, okay.
So use technology.
Yeah, okay, I have to start doing that. So but for the past 7 years, good luck, Quya.
So so what happened? What happened? They ordered you?
Yeah. So I didn't have any receipt. So I was just like, bang, takkanlah nak bayar 6,000. I didn't have savings, remember?
Yeah.
And then dia macam, tak apa it's okay. You just declare, and then because they were supposed to pay me, but I didn't declare, so they kind of like set off
penalty.
Set off the penalty.
They set off the penalty.
Yeah,
okay.
and they did give me credit like about $2,000. In the end, I got money.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, and then I was like, wow. But he was like legit my go-to tax guy. There were some other issues regarding, because I switched companies. So I will always call him like, bang, tak saya yang retain. He's like, yeah.
You should have a tax guy. Definitely. I have an uncle as well.
Oh, really? Okay. If it's your first year, or like your first job, you will usually get the money back. You don't have to pay anything. You just have to declare. Especially with our starting pay, it's not like you're earning 10K, right? Your starting pay, unless you are, which means you have to pay lah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, just reiterate, it doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't always mean like money comes out of your pocket. Sometimes it's money coming in your pocket. So you need to know what the deductions are, what are your benefits, what are things that you can get off your income.
Yeah. Okay, last question, which I think is a perfect question to end this session. Seeing that we've been in the corporate world for about like 8 years-ish, what are the pros and cons of being in the corporate world? I think nowadays people also have this dilemma whether or not to join the corporate world or just start their own business or something like that.
There's definitely pros in like joining corporate. I think the one big thing is that at the end of the month, if you don't do anything, you'll still get a salary.
Ka-ching.
Yeah, that's the beauty of working in corporate, right? You don't really, it's not really, of course you are measured, there's KPI, blah, 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 all that. But if more often than not, if you are just there for the month, you will get money.
You're just there. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's definitely like a plus, I would say. It doesn't mean that you're cruising. There's definitely also very, very successful people or like high achievers in corporate. And with corporate, I think most of the time it's always just better benefits. Because they are able to negotiate in bulk. And this could be benefits such as like health insurance. It could be benefits like your phone, plans,
transportation.
Transportation. So there's that, because there's the economies of scale that they can corporates can do. So there are those benefits. Personal pros for me, I think it was good to we actually haven't really talked about office politics. But office politics is, maybe that's a wrong word, but just managing people is
that's what I was about to say.
In life, not just in corporate, in life. Corporate gives you like a fast
track.
Fast track into like how to manage people. And I mean, it's a great skill. Of course, it can be painful as well, learning about this, but it is definitely a plus point in corporate, and you won't really get that as much if you're working online on your own. You'll get it to a lesser degree, I guess, because you're not really working in a big team most of the time. And then you have like set timings. Something depending on the company.
But in general.
But according to the law, you have 8 hours plus 1 hour break. That's how
that's what they say.
Personally, for me as well, working corporate, it's easy for me to detach. It's not. I look at it as there's professional Amira and then there's personal Amira. So it was a bit more easy for me to cut the lines when I go. Whereas when you're starting your own business or doing freelancing, it's very project based, and you're not getting a salary at the end of the month. You need to get that shit done. So if you don't get that shit done, you don't get that money. But at the same time, you work at your own schedule. And nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody's telling you need to be at a certain place. So there is flexibility in that way. With corporate also, the company has a vision, the company has a goal, a direction that they want to go to. And you have to be really lucky that those goals are in line with your own personal one. You find a company that is like that.
More often than not, it doesn't. So
more often than not, it's not. If you are freelancing or doing your own thing, you can control
Yeah.
all that.
When in my 20s, I feel like because I didn't know much about the world and everything else in general, like corporate gave me that I could learn in an environment from people who have been in the industry for like 10, 20 years. So it gave me that exposure, one thing. So I feel like in your 20s, it's super useful because you can learn like all the skills like people management. And then another big thing is that it pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Things that you wouldn't even do if you were like, if you were given the choice, you wouldn't do. But because you're working, you have to do it. For example, I was traveling in PwC. I had to go to like, rural areas like Bintulu or Sabah to visit all these places and deal with people from various backgrounds, from Americans in Texas to like people in like Bintulu who can't speak English. So like I was like basically thrown out of my comfort zone. That's where I realized I grew the most from being outside of my comfort zone. Whereas I feel like if working with myself or whatever, I wouldn't have pushed myself that hard because I was in corporate, they pushed me. I feel like the discipline to wake up, show up to work, and then the grit basically to just keep on hustling, that also you learn because that is a skill to like continue grinding. And it's a grit, you have to have the grit to like, even though people telling you your work is not good enough or like blah, 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 you're not good enough, but you push through and that builds you yourself like your muscle to make you more like durable. Basically, I think corporate will toughen me up, especially because I was very protected as a child. So
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
so I think in the corporate world was where I saw the real world, like how harsh people can be. And the biggest one for me is that you lose your sense of identity. When I first started as well, I didn't know much, so I didn't have that sense of identity. I did know who I was to an extent, but I feel like I was just so hung up on pleasing my bosses and like achieving that company goal, right? Maybe I didn't believe in the company goal, but I wanted to believe. I lied to myself to believe it and like make myself believe it. So in that process, I feel like I lost who I was because I was kind of numb. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. Like I can do the job, but I get very stressed and a bit numb. I struggle to set boundaries. It was my fault. I feel that when I have my full-time job, I usually just focus on my full-time job. So without my full-time job, I didn't do anything else. I didn't do my hobbies, my other interests. But I was just like, okay, I need to be good at my job. And then on weekends, I just pass out and sleep and whatever. That's how I lost myself as well. So I think now in my next job, I want to be more balanced. Like corporate job is one part of me, but it doesn't define who I am. Like I have other aspects of my life, my hobbies, my interests, my side projects. So having side projects and doing your hobbies will still be part of me whether I have a job or not.
When I was younger, I felt that my career or my job was all of me, was the big part of who I am. And so I need to really invest in it and really believe in it and know that I'm good. And that's also my personality. I put a lot of heart into something. And while that is admirable, it can also be dangerous because your career doesn't have to be everything that is about you. Yeah. So I feel that I got into a point in time in my career as well that I try, okay, let's see if my career can just be something that I get money for and try other things. Because I know that there are people out there who do see their career that way. And I think that is completely okay as well because you have other things outside that you want to, your life is not just about your career. So get this through your head. But if it is, again, everybody's so different. If it is, it's fine. If it's not. But I was, career was a big thing in my life. And then I felt that I wasn't very passionate about it anymore. Now it's like, okay, let me just stick to this. I was getting good salary. Let's see if like my career can just be something that I get from 9 to 6, and I work on other things. About 2 years in, I realized that I couldn't do that because the person who I was, I need to believe that what I do at work from Monday to Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. makes a difference or means something. And that's just a personality trait that I have. Okay. So treating my career as something that is giving me salary only was not for me. Okay. I needed to find something that gave me meaning.
Fulfillment. Okay.
And gave me reason. To kind of like wrap it up what I'm saying, there isn't really one way or the other to like have your career.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm trying to kind of share. Some people think your career is their number one priority, and that's fine. Some people think of it as number 8 priority, and that is fine as well. You need to kind of have that conversation with yourself and ask where it sits. Experiment perhaps, because that's what I did, only then to find out that I cannot take my career as just something I do to make money. I cannot, it doesn't gel with me. I feel that I am not Amira.
Okay.
So because of that, now 10 years of working, now I am a bit clearer on the guide on what kind of jobs that I want to do, what kind of roles I want to apply for. But that took like a bit for me
experimenting and learning, right?
to this point.
Yeah.
And I came from the mindset that there's only one way to do things, and then 10 years later I'm like, there's so many opportunities, like limitless of what can you do. So that is the only thing. I wouldn't even say that I wish I knew it back then. I felt that I needed to go through what I went through to get to this.
Yeah.
So maybe the answer is that there is no answer.
There is no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. Ultimately, you have to experiment and try new things. That's why if you're not happy at something, take the risk and try something else. I know it's easier said than done, especially in your 20s. I feel like that's where because you don't have a lot of commitment. Maybe you're not married yet, you don't have kids yet, you don't have all this stress yet, which will come in your so that's when you can experiment and think like, okay, this is what I want to try. So that's why you should also have a bit of other things, like your hobbies. Continue pursuing your hobbies, right? Like, so that you know that you have other things as well, like a bit more of like harmony, work-life harmony. Yeah.
And some people, their hobbies is their career.
Yeah, and that's fine too.
That's a path too.
Okay, that's the end of our episode for today.
I hope it helps.
Yeah.
Just because people don't really talk about, people talk about getting that great job.
And that's it.
But then once you get it,
it's only the beginning. It's only the beginning. The job, it's only the beginning.
Yeah, the hard part is actually doing the job, not actually getting the job.
Right, you ingat you dah dapat kerja, can relax. No.
Yeah, and I think that's also like, at least for me, I got the job, so they must have seen something for me. So I must show them that I know what I'm doing. But I don't know what I'm doing, and I was embarrassed to ask questions sometimes. Or then you said that this attitude of always learning. I think that is great, and no matter whether you're 20, you're 30, you're 45, you're 65, this attitude of there's always something to learn is, I think, so admirable.
In one of my TikToks, someone said that, because I did like a skit where like me, when I was younger, I thought that I would have my life together by the time I hit 30. But then when I'm 30, well, now I'm over 30 and I'm still figuring shit out. Like we all are. When I was younger, I want to have my life together, whatever that means, by a certain age. But I think now my mindset is a bit like, I will learn new things until I die.
I feel that now that I'm 10 years in like, the career game, I feel there's a lot more things I don't know than the things I knew. I know. Because back then I just feel like, I know all this shit. I know how to do this. And then like 10 years later, I'm like, I don't know a lot of shit.
We're still learning. Like at every age, every decade, we're still learning. Manage your expectations of what adulthood is as well, right? For fresh grads. Because I had that vision like, when I'm 30, I'll be like, I have this house, I have that, children, whatever. But now, wow.
Shit happens. We talk about this a lot. Like #life is hard.
Life is hard.
The sooner you realize it and just be okay with it, the better you are at solving your problems in life. Just take it as a default. Life is going to be hard.
Yeah.
But it will be fun to like get through all these challenges. So
thank you guys. Bye. See you guys on the next episode. Bye.